All right, baby, what is going on? I'm super excited for this session. It is the first of its kind in this Discovery Series for our Black Friday events. So, welcome if you are just tuning in. This is day 9, day 11 if you count the weekends, but day 9 for business hours and business days. I'm really glad to have you guys here with us. Let me see if anyone has tuned in yet. Well, I can see the chat, so that's good. Perfect. And there are our people. So if you guys could drop a hello in the chat for Sarah here. I don't know if any of you guys got to see her recently. By coincidence, she was here presenting for us for something else in October. But Sarah and I are good online friends, and it kind of stunk because she was going to present for us in this event in June. Mold stuff going on, which I fully understand, unfortunately, all too well at this point. So I'm like, cool, do your thing. Comes on in October, and then we had those global outages. You guys remember a few weeks back when there was all those issues with the internet? The only session that I missed was the one with Sarah, and we're like, all right, we got to do something again. What can we do? So we're actually right now, technically, I guess, doing the session that we would have done with you in June. So this has two names. This is called our Business Success Sessions. So I don't know why we named it that because it's very hard for me to do that alliteration every single time. But we actually have a normal name for it that we typically call it in Summer Open House, and that is our 6-figure FDN sessions. And when I talk about the money side of this, I want to specify something before we get rolling here. Just want to make sure everyone's in the same place and we're all operating in integrity. FDN is not a thing that you go through to get rich. No one's saying that. Sarah's not promoting that. I'm not promoting that. But when you are making a decision as to whether or not the FDN course is a good fit for you, it is like almost choosing a college in a sense. You're not getting a degree. That's not what I mean. Don't quote me on that. I'll get myself in trouble. But it's like a college in the sense that you go to career day and you'd like to know, okay, what is my experience at college going to be like? What will I be able to do in my job? And a very important part, I know 18-year-olds completely forget this part nowadays. They just go for a 5-year party plan, but you actually have to notice, like, how much can you make afterwards? What is the earning potential of the degree that you're going and getting? So the reason that we include sessions like this is to show you guys what is possible with this certification, what you can do with it. And that's why we also have the case studies as well. Remember, at 3 o'clock Eastern today, we're going to be on with Jennifer Woodward. She's going to have a whole case study on perimenopause and peptides. Now, we don't teach peptides in the main FDN course, but it's too hot of a topic, and Jennifer's well-versed in them. So we'll be showing how that can actually be used in the FDN methodology. But that's why we're talking about the business stuff today. That's why we have the keynote speakers. It does fit into all of this. So let me check the chat here. I realize you guys talk even more if I put you on stream. Maybe you're like me and like seeing your own name on stuff. So we all have that little bit of us, right? So everyone's saying hello from Sarah, or hello to Sarah. So I'm really curious. Do me one favor here. And Sarah, just so you know, there's about a 30 to 60 second delay on Restream. If you were to ask the audience questions at any time, that's what would happen. Yeah. But drop a 1 in the chat if you guys know Sarah somehow. If you have never seen Sarah, she's brand new to you, drop a 2. So 1 for you know her, 2 for you don't. And I'm asking that for a reason here. So I will check in with her directly, though. Sarah, hello. Can you let us know where you're tuning in from, how you doing, all that good stuff?
Hello, everybody. I love being in this energy, in this space with Ev and with all of you self-healers. You are my people. And we just think differently. We enter this space and it's a time for us to like really get together as community. And I am tuning in right now. I am on John's Island, which is about 10 minutes outside of Charleston. And you might notice I'm wearing summer clothes right now. It is like 77 and sunny right now. So I'm like soaking it all up. I'm from Pennsylvania. So this is like my local summer now here, living down here.
Yes, you and I are in the same boat, right? We actually, if I'm not mistaken, correct. Oh, yeah, no, that was you. You worked at a business like, what, 20 minutes away from me? You were in like Percy, Pennsylvania? Because I was in Doylestown, Pipersville area.
I lived in Bucks County. I had a house in Bucks County.
Yeah.
So Sellersville, and I had a practice with a chiropractor in Blooming Glen, which is like right outside of right outside of Doylestown.
Yeah, it's so cool. So we never even knew about that overlap until I think the first time that we did a podcast together. And then we also escaped because as you start to learn more about the online opportunities and can do it. And then 2, you realize, well, wait, I need year-round vitamin D. I got to be as healthy as possible if I'm going to work indoors all day. We tend to move south. So I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina last year with my wife. Now we just escaped to Austin, Texas. But I haven't said this yet. We love Austin. Definitely somewhere we are going to be here probably for like, a couple of years. But if there was another one, it's kind of tied between Knoxville and Charleston. So that would be pretty sweet. Come visit you guys. There's a lot of great FDNs down in Charleston. I don't even know if you realize that. There's tons of people down there.
I have realized that in the
Okay,
past
okay,
year, I've come across quite a few of them in the Facebook group, and we're like, we got to get together.
sweet.
Uh-huh. But it's
All
funny, we
right.
keep moving more south. But Charleston is becoming more of a hub for wellness. I'm seeing a lot of people come here who are into wellness, FDNs, different
Mhm.
mindset, more in the functional space. So it's really exciting to see. I've been here for about 4 years and it's getting better.
Yeah.
So
What
we need you, Ev. We need you and Maddie.
once you leave that first winter up north, if you guys are from it, I'm sorry, I won't keep this going, but like I just sit there. I'm like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Like, I don't have to do this anymore. So I am escaping, and then I have to constantly recheck my weather app. And my mom and I are always fighting back and forth jokingly on our text messages because I'm looking. I'm like, wait, it gets to 30 degrees at night in November in Pennsylvania. How did I do this? And no wonder I had seasonal affective disorder. It's depressing. I got to go to Charleston, baby, or Austin. So we're definitely picking our Canadian friends off here. We're sorry, folks. We love you guys too. A lot of twos, which actually makes me very excited. I'm glad
Oh,
that you guys are getting to see Sarah for the first time. We always like to
nice.
bring on new faces because you never know which personality you're going to resonate with. We had Sharon Sarita on yesterday. She is PhD in engineering, like very clinical, very chill. Sarah's also very clinical, but she's highly excitable like me. So I love presenting with her. I'm going to read her bio here. And I will admit, Sarah, I think even if you double check, I think the last little bit got cut off. So sorry if I cut off at the wrong spot, but we will be able to do as much of this as we can. Her bio is very impressive, so even what I will be able to read is going to be good. Sarah Ball is the founder of Hormone Goddess and creator of the Roots, so ROOTS, acronym Roots Method, where she helps high functioning, ambitious women move out of what she calls cellular survival mode by addressing the biochemical roots of hormone imbalances and nervous system dysregulation. The Roots Method is a science meets soul framework and small group experience designed to guide women beyond mere survival into thriving. When the nervous system and cells are fully resourced at the root, the body can regulate, detoxify, and heal exactly as it was designed to. True healing, Sarah teaches, is not about doing more. It's about restoring the energy that makes everything possible from cells to soul and reclaiming the life one was always meant to live. At the core of her philosophy is the understanding that the body cannot heal without cellular energy. Energy is the currency cells use to repair tissues, digest life, release toxins, regulate the nervous system, and rewire the imprint of trauma. So that is who you folks are dealing with today. Here's how the six-figure FDN sessions work. And I know that you guys get a little shy in the beginning. You'll drop the ones and twos in the chat. You'll shout out where you're from. But the questions, sometimes you get a little bit more nervous. I get that. So I cannot encourage you enough. This is how we do these sessions every single time. When I am starting out here, I start off with some basic questions. I have plenty if need be, but I start out with some basic questions just to get us in the game. I bring these folks on and they are nice enough to come on for you guys. So if you start throwing questions in 5 minutes to this interview, we will prioritize yours. We want to get to hear from you. It's a lot for our speakers. They do it out of the love of their heart or the good of their heart and the love for what we're doing here. So I want you guys to be able to learn. Get some questions about the business side. Maybe you're brand new to this and you never even sold lemonade at a lemonade stand when you were a kid. We promise you can do this too. But you have to ask questions. You got to get knowledge and information that maybe you haven't had before. And as you can already tell, Sarah's a super friendly person, so she doesn't bite. Ask her any questions, and we will help you guys out. Someone has some family in Bucks County, which is great, and someone else is from
Oh,
Bucks. That's awesome. All right, well, you guys got to let us know specifically then. Are we talking Doylestown? Because Bucks County has about 800,000 people, which is insane. So let us know where specifically, if that's not too creepy. Sarah, I will ask you my first question here. It's just a again basic one to get us rolling here, but I would love to know what was your first experience with entrepreneurship? Was this when you graduated as an FDN? Was it beforehand? Were you always like this? I think that's very important for people to know because we have all backgrounds on today. So, what was your first experience with entrepreneurship?
well, I did have a lemonade stand when I was a kid, but that's
There you
about it when it comes to entrepreneurship. I didn't have any family members who modeled that for me. They were all 9 to 5 workers. And I always like felt though inside of me, like I was never the norm. I was always a rebel. If you tell me to do something, I'm going to do opposite. I didn't do super well in school because of just the frameworks and the artificial lighting, like nothing really worked well for me.
go.
I ended up going to college and I did all that. And I became a grad in human communications, public relations, and I started my career in marketing. But I never really thought like it was one of those things like I saw was possible for other people, but not for me. I'm like, that feels a bit risky. I don't know if I have what it takes. I just, I've seen it modeled like on the internet and through friends of friends, but pretty much everybody in my sphere was in corporate America. And I didn't really have any glimpses into that. Now,
Mhm.
I decided though one day to quit my marketing career, and it didn't just come out of the blue. And let me tell you, this was not like social media marketing. This is like old school, like digital print magazine marketing.
Okay.
That was like what I went to school for. And I'm not dating myself. I'm 34. But I didn't learn social media marketing in school. So I didn't really have those skills either. So a lot of people are like, oh, you have a marketing background. You probably knew how to get into business right away. No, I had to learn all of these things. Like you said, Ev, I get to become like a jack of all trades.
Mhm.
But it was a time in my life where I was burning the candle at both ends. I was working 60 plus hours a week for somebody else. I was miserable, and all these labels started to come up. And if you've met me before, you know a lot of those. I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism. I had really painful periods. My body was speaking to me. I actually ended up in the ER 4 times, crazy brain fog, fatigue. And at the same time this was all going on, I had this huge hit in my family and found out my dad was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And he was 58 at the time. And he was really like my model for success. He showed me like what it takes to be successful. He did a very successful engineering career. And I just, I watched him, and he worked weekends, he worked really long days. I was like, well, that's what I got to do. So I was like your classic overachiever. I graduated high school early, like that's even possible. I graduated college early in 3 years, and I just wanted to make my mark on the world and make money. But I came to this point in my career where I was just like, is this all?
Hmm.
And I had this moment. It was kind of like a spiritual awakening, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of our symptoms and what's going on in our body can lead to that. And I was just like, no more. I want to see what else is out there for me. So I decided to become a health coach through Duke University. I went through there at the time it was integrative medicines, Duke Health and Wellness Coaching, dabbled into that world a little bit. As a side gig, I was a personal trainer. I really just loved fitness. I loved nutrition. It was always a passion for me. And even when I was in high school, I did my senior project on the obesity epidemic and my answers to it. So it was always like something I was passionate about, but I'm like, I can't make this a career. I remember my parents telling me when I went to college, I was like, well, what about nutrition? Could I do that? And they're like, you're never going to make any money doing that. So I did marketing. I did the same thing. And, I just had this moment where I was like, what if I bet on myself? And I took some time off, and I actually connected with a chiropractor, and I started working with her, and I started doing health coaching. Then all of a sudden I got into the functional medicine world with her, and game over. That this is like when I really started finding FDN.
Well, and so just to be clear then about the entrepreneurship side as well. So when were you always kind of, seems like even those few years prior to the chiropractor, were you kind of making some money on your own, like here and there, maybe some personal training clients or whatever? I just want to make sure we have that clear.
Yes, I was. So, although I was working full time in marketing, my passion was truly health and wellness, and especially fitness at the time. And so, I started a side gig personal training and health coaching business. And I was making some money. It wasn't enough to like totally replace my, 6-figure paycheck, but it was enough to start getting me feeling like, wow, I could potentially make this a career, or
Mhm.
I could build this up a little bit. But at the time though, I was still with personal training, which a lot of you might have an experience with that as well, and with health coaching, like I was trading time for money. I still had to physically be there with people. So
Mhm.
it was still like, how can I really make this work? Because that's a lot of me to make 6 figures.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of my energy and me being physically there.
Okay. And first of all, thank you for your openness with the numbers. Again, we haven't really had a session like this other than kind of the keynote, but that was still a bit of a different thing. So, guys, I know that in normal day to day life, you're not allowed to talk about numbers. No one has these open conversations, but we do this to show you everything here. Like we want to be realistic and transparent. By the way, I find a very high correlation between people who are already making 6 figures beforehand and end up doing that in their business. Now, one could obviously argue that the same qualities that allowed the person to do that to begin with lead it to being successful in their business. And that there's some statistics on that. If you have high conscientiousness, which is a known personality trait, at least somewhat genetic, about 40 to 60% of the variance is genetic, that's associated with income. IQ is associated with income. Extroversion is actually associated with income. Sorry, introverts. That's not fair, but it is what it is. And so I'm not saying that those qualities can't overlap, but the reason I'm mentioning that is because I do believe so strongly that these things that we're taught as kids sometimes, the limiting beliefs, actually affect us as adults. And so my point in saying all this is if I made $100,000 in my career, that's my standard, right? Like you can't make anything less afterwards. You got to figure it out somehow. And I know I can't measure that. I know I'm getting a little bit into the woo woo, but I have seen this so strongly correlated that it's impossible for me to not believe that there's something to it. So sometimes I think working on ourselves and our belief and what's actually possible for us propels us farther than anything. But maybe that's a side point, maybe not. I'll let you touch on that in case you have anything for it. Do you know what I mean by that, though? It seems like the people that get out of these very corporate settings sometimes, and we're killing it there, end up ironically making a lot of money in the entrepreneurship side too. And again, personality is probably a correlation, but I also think there's a standard that they've set for themselves intentionally or unintentionally that I need to do that now. I can't go do this entrepreneurship thing and make 20,000 a year. That's not possible for you. That wouldn't work, right?
No, no. Once you get a taste of it, honestly, and then your living matches that, and it's, living in Charleston, especially, like it's not cheap. Like I
Mhm.
have a certain standard of what I need to make every year to live the lifestyle, and I'm a health nut, so I like to have all my health stuff with me too. So that stuff, it costs money, right? And it matters, and I want to have a certain quality of life. But here's the deal, though: I didn't leave my job and just make six figures overnight.
Sure.
I'm an example of not an overnight success story. And I think that's too like the misconception of like, oh, you just go from like this career path to this and like you just get the same amount of money. It's like, no, I had a huge dark night of the soul multiple times, breakdowns before the breakthroughs, a lot of limiting beliefs I needed to move through to really make this money on my own, because one of my limiting beliefs was I had to work really, really, really hard to
Mm.
make money. And I had to sacrifice my health, and I had to sacrifice my family and my time and my energy, because that's all I saw modeled for me. So like that was like the stuff I carried with me. And I think we can carry our own worst boss energy into our future career. But I didn't make six figures overnight. And I want to make that very clear, because I've seen some people do it, but that's not the norm.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's even more realistic. By the way, you guys, what a smart audience. They have someone on that they can learn from and they ask the questions. And I just say this because I'm amazed sometimes where it's like I could bring them anyone. And sometimes they don't ask questions depending on the audience that we have. So I do see you guys. You beat me even before I'm finished my stuff here. So this is awesome. We will get to those very shortly. Obviously, the next question, though, I want to ask is so you find FDN, and I would like to know, always realistically, we don't have to overhype it or underhype it, but how that actually did impact your income. And more importantly, I guess your belief that you actually could go out and do this. So let's get into the specifics if you remember them offhand.
Yeah.
When you go through FDN, roughly how much of the income was divided from personal stuff, like you're bringing it in your own business or own training sessions or whatever, versus working for someone else? And then what happened after FDN? And considering I just asked you three questions, I can happily reiterate any of those.
Yeah, I might have you come back on for that. But let me start with like where, I found FDN. So it's
Yeah.
2020. Or 2019 actually, when this all happened. So I was working with a chiropractor. I was kind of like doing like five jobs at once. I was just trying to make ends meet at the time. I wasn't making a ton of money. I was a chiropractic assistant. I was the health coach, and I started doing a functional medicine program with her to learn about it because I was fascinated in it. She really opened up my eyes to that work. Now, we went to a conference, a functional medicine conference in Toronto. It was Sachin Patel's Perfect Practice
Nice.
Conference. And I like ate that stuff up. I felt like I was in the rooms with the right people. But here's what blew my mind. You guys, I'm not a doctor. I secretly always wanted to be a doctor because my dad was like, you're going to be like a doctor or a lawyer one day. Because like you've got like, you love helping people, but you like got that sass too. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove my dad right. Right. And I remember like thinking about, because when I got out of college, I had a really hard time finding a job. And I'm like, maybe I'll go back and become a doctor. It's funny how that works. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a licensed practitioner, and I was working under a doctor. So I was, working within my scope of practice as a health coach. But I'm at this conference, and I hear these MDs and naturopaths and like holistic doctors talking about FDN. And I'm like, what's this FDN thing? Like, I got to know what this is. And many of them actually going through this certification. But I'm like, you're a medical doctor. Why would you do that? So I ended up like picking a lot of their brains, learning about it. I sat with it for about 6 months. I got married. I did that whole thing. We got married in the Outer Banks. So that was really time consuming. But it was 2020. As you know, the world was shifting and changing. This was actually before a lot of the shift. And I was like, I'm gonna do this FDN thing. Like I'm gonna look into it. So I joined in June. I graduated in November. So what is that? 5 months? I think I said
Nice,
3 months
nice.
before I misspoke. It was actually 5 months. I graduated and I'm like, okay, now what? How do I like make this a business? Here's the thing though, I did actually have I was getting out there. So with the chiropractor, I was doing talks, I was speaking, I was getting out in the community, and I would have like, I mean, the talk started with like 15, 20 people. It got to like over 50 people that were coming out to these free talks I
Wow.
was doing. And I was talking about like leaky gut and hormones and like all the things at the time that were really lighting me up. And I just wanted to share it out of the goodness of my heart and just wanted people to know this information that I was learning because I was like nerding out on it. And I just yakking my husband's ear off. He's like, okay, you need to like talk to other people. So I started doing those talks and it felt really good because people would come up afterwards and be like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of these things. Like, this is so fascinating to me. And so I started building these relationships with people. And so as I left that practice and I decided to go on my own, I started having those people, they were reaching out to me and they're like, oh my gosh, you have a business now. Like, how can I work with you? And so I actually started getting clients within the first month, which was really exciting for me. But I put myself out there, I put myself out there, and you'd be really surprised to know, like, I'm not fully extroverted. I'm actually like a little introverted too. Like I love my hermit time. I love my quiet
Mhm.
time. That's why I love having an online business because I can have those boundaries with like speaking because this energizes me, but I also need my downtime. And I started getting some clients from that. And I want to make sure I answer your question, Evan, with like, you were talking, I want to make sure I get the clarity of that, like how splitting up how much, and I'll let you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, roughly. So, because I want to always know, sometimes people did have a relatively established business before becoming an FDN. There's nothing wrong with that as well. But if someone's making 100,000 in their personal business before FDN, that is a different story than someone that says, I have never even taken on one client, became an FDN, and then did the six-figure thing. So I just want the real story.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like though is that even at the time when you became an FDN, you weren't making substantial money on your own, and that
Mm-mm.
this FDN thing plus the in-person talk, Sarah, I couldn't have scripted this any better. How many times, folks, do I tell you guys that the in-person talks still work? It's one of the best ways to get clients, and the best part is in-person talks don't care if you're 22 years old or 62 years old. You don't need social media for that necessarily. You could use it to advertise, but you don't need it. They still work. They build trust faster. So what I was really getting at is wondering, like, when you did become an FDN, so you're graduated, it's November, you're
Yep.
done and you're
Yep.
graduated. Um, how much money at that time before you took on an FDN client would you say you were making just in your own personal stuff?
Oh geez. With it's pretty sad. I was probably making like 20, 30,000 a year.
That's perfect. Okay, that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
realistic because even that number, that might be more than a lot of people are doing here today because they haven't started their own business. But yeah, you're not
Mm-mm.
coming here preaching us or preaching to us with some stuff today like, oh yeah, I was making 150 and then I made
Yep.
175 the year after FDN. It's like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah. No, I was like, my husband had to take over most of the bills, to be honest with you. Like it was a hard time. And I felt like I was doing a lot of jobs there. I was doing the health coaching. I wasn't obviously trained to do the labs yet and to, help people with like creating protocols and such like that. So I was kind of like behind the scenes helping out with all those things. And then as I became an FDN, I stayed at the practice for a few months and then I left that winter. So I
Mhm.
ended up leaving that winter and fully going online. I never had an online business before. So I was pretty scared to, be honest with you. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like I was just banking on myself because I'm
Mhm.
like, I've been able to get some clients through this practice, not enough. Like it's been giving me some income. I really love what I do, but I really want to do this myself. And now I don't have to rely on a doctor anymore. I have my FDN credentials and I have the medical um, detective team behind me helping me. Like there's amazing FDNs
Mhm.
who are on the clinical staff who just like can help walk you through the labs. And I needed a lot of that in the beginning. And so that helped build up my confidence. But, I wasn't making a lot of money to start off. Like it was, I had to just make things work at that time. My husband, he was such a saint at that time. He really took things over, and we were kind of like living paycheck to paycheck, and I had to dip into my savings quite a bit. So that's the reality of it, which is really cool because, like, fast forward like 5 years later, I did the same for him, but I was able to
Nice.
do that with my income. And he was so burnt out from his career, and he decided to start his own business. I'm like, okay, I got you, so it's really cool what we can do for each other. But if he wouldn't have allowed me that time, if I wouldn't have had that support, then I don't know if I would have ever took the leap, to be honest with you.
I love that. I'd love to meet him one day because I love the championing that you have for him, and I'm sure it's the
Yeah.
same way for you. That's so cool. You guys, by the way, are the best types of wives. When I say you guys, I mean you and Maddie, because I Maddie has, she calls it this herself, the investment period of 2 years. Now we weren't married, right? I'm like boyfriend doing this, like hoping for the best, like please God, please make this work somehow. And then she figured out her stuff, whatever. I mean, just yesterday, right? It's a random Wednesday. She comes in, she's like, "Yep, up 2 grand for the day," and I'm like, sweetheart, it brings a tear to my eye, a tear, truly. So, absolute best types of wives.
He's
So, my
amazing.
final question directly then for you here, and then we'll get to these wonderful audience questions is, so after that first year of going all in on FDN, doesn't have to be six figures. It's fine. I don't know. I actually don't know what it is. I forget if we ever even got to talk about this. But roughly speaking, after that first year of I'm all in on myself, only doing this, where did you end up at roughly?
Yeah, I ended up doubling that. So I ended up getting to, it was like mid 40s,
Nice.
40,000 a year. And that gave me enough to give myself some confidence that, like, okay, I can do this. I can make some income, I can build out these systems. But at the time, I was like also just like the solopreneur, right? And I was a solopreneur for a very long time in my business. Not saying you need like this grandiose team, which I definitely don't have. But it's like I was at this state where I was really doing everything. I was learning how to make funnels and courses and website stuff and like stuff that, like, I am so glad I don't have to do now, but like I'm glad I also know because I knew who to hire. But I was more so like not so concerned about how much money I was making. It was like, okay, I'm,
Sure.
I'm gaining these skills
Mhm.
that I need now as a business owner that I didn't have prior.
Was it year two or year three that you hit the first six figures?
Let me think back. That was, oh my gosh, time is just like collapsing. So that was
Yeah, it's kind
2020,
of scary, especially ever since 2020,
2021.
man. It's like a whole whirlwind.
Yeah, 2022. So that was
Nice.
year two. Yeah,
Awesome. Very good. I
2022.
like that. And then we don't have to necessarily get into hyper specifics on this, but you've been able to maintain the six figure thing every single year since then, or is
Oh
that not quite?
yeah, it's grown since. It has not dipped. So
Awesome.
that's been really great.
And guys, think about this.
Consistency
So
we
this is a
like in our
person.
nervous system.
You go to school, college, and you get a multi-year degree. You put in all the effort into that. Gosh knows what that degree costs, right? And then you come through FDN. At the time, you would have gotten to spend a little bit less. We have added things to the course. You're spending under 10 grand for the course. You go through this, and year two, six figures. I think that's a pretty good gig if you ask me. I don't know what else people could really want. And I like that your first year wasn't actually crazy at the six figure mark. And I know that you would have probably maybe liked it that way. Who knows? But it makes for a better story because I think that is realistic for a lot of our people. And that's not always going to happen the first year. I do believe it's possible. I believe if you went out and gave a dang talk every single week using our lecture packages, I would be shocked to find that you
Yeah,
can't get to six figures. But
right,
easier said than done. Don't
right.
necessarily want to do that once a week. It is nerve wracking. You got
Yeah.
to get the people
Oh
there.
yeah.
There's many aspects that go into that. So
Yeah.
this is awesome. I got a million other things, but I would love to hear from our audience members here. So I'm going to start displaying some of their stuff again. You guys are great. Oh, someone's in Newtown, PA. Awesome.
Oh,
And this was the first question, and this is from Angelique. So these are going to be all over the place. This is where we get into the real fun. And as you can tell, Sarah has just as much energy as me, so she can handle this. How did you first start marketing your business, social media, live talks, friends, family? I know that we already addressed the live talks part. Just to be clear, were you doing any other form of marketing in that year one and year two, or was it just the talks?
so I was doing talks, but I wish I was doing them weekly. I just didn't have the energy at that time because I was
Sure.
actually going through my own health crisis. So I was healing, I was going through like the depths of that. So I didn't have the capacity in my nervous system to handle that. So I did what I could. You know what I ended up doing? Instead of the live in-person talks, as you know what COVID did to the world, I was doing webinars. So I was doing monthly webinars. And I loved that because I could get on, I could connect with everybody, and then I had the rest of the day. I didn't have to like drive anywhere or, I could wear my yoga pants, like it was super comfy. So that was one way. And then I started getting into the social media world. Now I already had like an Instagram that I was like very briefly talking about my love for nutrition and fitness, but I started posting more regularly on social media, and that got like old high school friends and college friends and family out of the woodwork of like, girl, I love what you're doing. I need to know about this. So that was really fun. And then I'm a very referral based business. So referrals were huge for me. And I just wanted people to get really good results with me. So that's what I focused on. And I'm like, hey, you got a good result. You like what you experienced. Can you please share this with other people? So I was really honing in. That was like my marketing strategy at that time, which a lot of that hasn't changed.
Awesome. And I won't skip this question, but I might not highlight it just because someone had asked somewhere in this comment section, can you do this as webinars? The answer is absolutely yes. Guys, there is almost no difference between an in-person talk and a webinar other than one's done online. And you can make arguments for both. The consistency with which one can do a webinar is going to be much higher. And in the sense, if you're willing to spend, this gets into the weeds, but if you're willing to spend money, you can almost control the amount of people that show up there, but now you're taking a risk, kind of whatever. Correct me if you do not agree with this, please.
Huh?
If I had the ability, let's say I had to get clients as fast as possible. That was my number one goal. I got to get them as quick as possible, ethically. And I could have 50 people at an in-person talk down the road or
Yep.
50 people on a webinar. I personally, I'm going to take the 50 people in person. Has your experience been different, or do you think they're about the same?
Right on. Here's the thing. When you see someone in person, you're not on your phone, you're not with your screen off, like you're fully focused and you're in the energy of the room. And I tell people like all the time in business, get in the rooms with people who are doing what you want to do. Like make sure it's just this energetic exchange. You're communicating with these people, you're with like-minded souls. It's so important. And I'm the type of person where it's like, what's everybody doing? Everybody's dancing on TikTok and focusing on social media. And like, there's nothing wrong with that, but you will never see me do that. If you check out my Instagram, I don't post every day. I post like once a week or every 2 weeks, and I still get clients, and it's like, I want to be the example of like, you don't have to do the strategies that maybe aren't aligned with you. And for me, what I love doing is speaking to people and being in rooms and in community. And we're in a world where it's like AI is taking over, which has its benefits. Absolutely. That's a whole nother conversation. And we're terminally online. Like people are really online all the time. And I think the opposite is going to be needed, right? So I tend to do the opposite of what the masses do. What's everybody doing? Social media and online. Okay, I'm going to go out in the community and talk.
Yep.
And I've been doing that more and more and more. Oh my gosh, the best way to get business, but also the best way to connect with people. Because even if they don't sign up, they're going to tell someone. They're going to be like, I loved your energy. I love what you had to say. I'm going to go tell my sister or my best friend. And it's just a powerful experience.
Yeah, and so okay, I'm glad that we're in agreement on that. So again, guys, there's a million ways to do it. You don't have to do webinars at all. You could post on social every single day and build that. Understand though, the speed in which you grow is highly correlated to the ability of a new person to trust you. And if you're just like, let's say you just post on social every day, no webinars, no talks, that's fine. It might take 90 days, 120 days of these people seeing you to realize that they can trust you. I'm very transparent about our marketing here. I share this almost every webinar. Think about it. The first time that you guys got on this month, if it was your first time at FDN, you hear me and you're like, oh, this is a fast talking guy. Like, what is this? Some type of salesperson dude? And then you just realize it's undiagnosed ADHD that's not being treated, right? So you have to get through a few sessions with me though, to realize, okay, he's a good enough dude. He's just insane. Whereas in person, I feel like we have this very natural ability. I'm sure there's a scientist that knows why this is, but there's a very natural ability for us to read other people. And of course we have that. That would have been a survival thing. It's still a survival thing, I guess, but certainly thousands of years ago where you kind of have to feel out the other tribe or feel out this tribe member, like what's going on here. We have that ability. So when we get to see someone in person, oh, they actually do have my best interest. Yes, they have a business. Yes, they charge for this, but they mean well and want to help me. We're able to close that gap faster because 50% of Americans alone are walking around with a chronic disease. So when Sarah said she has people reaching out on her Facebook, Instagram, whatever from high school, of course, because statistically speaking, if you have 100 friends on Facebook, 50% of them have a chronic disease. So just sharing this stuff kind of works and brings people in. So, and again, the more bold you're willing to get with it, because what's the hardest thing that we just mentioned? Talking in person. That's a little bit harder than talking on a webinar. A webinar is a little bit harder than just posting on social media every day with your face, and that's a lot harder than posting no face on social media at all. But you will grow in direct proportion, speed wise, to the willingness that you have to kind of put yourself out there. So, awesome questions. Let's keep moving here. Otherwise, I'll get myself in trouble because it's too easy to talk back and forth with Sarah all day. What was your revenue? Okay, revenue growth timeline like? There's two separate questions here, so you do not have to do this. We've already gotten specific enough. If you feel comfortable, are you able? You said year 2 is the 6 figures, so that's 2022. We've now had 2023, 24, and we're finishing up 25. Do you feel comfortable kind of giving a guideline of or timeline of what that might have looked like each year in terms of progression?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So yeah, year 2, 2022. So that was where I broke the 6-figure mark. That was like, oh, okay, like I made it happen. Year 2, I was at like 111,000 so ish, right around there. That was the year my dad passed away. And I ended up taking 6 months off. So I still did that with 6 months off. So just
Whoa.
want to make that very clear. I had better systems. I stopped working so much in my business and I started working on it and creating the systems for it. So want to make that clear. I do not work a ton in my business. When people ask like, how many clients do you take at a time? You're going to be really surprised. Then we're talking 2024. I got close to 200,000. So we're right about that. And we're over 200 now. So yeah.
Oh, you mean like year to date, you're already over 200
Yeah.
for this year?
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. Congrats. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I'm really excited. And it's, for some people, like it might look like slow growth, but for me, like it had to be that way. Like I take about 3 months off a year. I go and see my mom in Bucks County. I, travel with my husband. I have a lot of time freedom, geographical freedom. I have the support in place. I have a very lean but profitable business. So, but it took me a bit to get there. And I'm glad it took me a while because I don't want to be an overnight success story with the Oprah effect where, have you guys heard of that? Where it's like, you're on Oprah and like all of a sudden it's like you don't have the systems to match it, so then your business fails. I didn't want that to happen to me. So I'm glad like it's moved with my expansion and my own nervous system. And so then we're ready for next year. We have some really big goals for next year and I'm super pumped but yeah, and when you ask like how many clients do you typically take at a time? So I no longer work with people one-on-one. I have a small group program. So I'm able to take on, for the small group program, I don't take over 50. Right now we have 15. I just launched a new program. We have 15. So I sold it out at 15. But we're not going to go over like probably 30 for the next round. And then in the future, we're not going to go over like 50. But I want to hire some FDNs in place to go to that 50. It's not going to be just me at that point.
So you're even doing one-on-one at this point?
No.
Okay, very unique. Really cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, that's not every FDN, but that could be a reason to listen even more because there could be something to that. So really cool.
And I learned what works for me, to be honest with you. I did one-on-one for years.
Yep. Well, that's why we like to highlight the different ones because it's like, guys, there's so many different ways to do this. All right. I know it differs by individual, but can we ask how long it took for your business? Okay, so I think we've kind of answered some of these because remember, some of these are coming in like 10 minutes ago at this point. What I guess this depends on what do you consider a livable wage? Are you literally talking poverty line versus, hey, 3 months off and taking vacations and things like that? Because that could be up to debate. So it sounds like, although 2022 was very unfortunate with the passing of your dad, I mean, it sounds like you did make enough that year to be like, wow, I am in business, man. I'm doing this for myself and had the ability to take off for those 6 months. So would you say 2022 is when you feel like, all right, I'm in this thing now?
That was 2023.
Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did feel that. And, that was very unexpected to be honest. I mean, he had Alzheimer's. So I was a little in denial. They gave us 7 years. It was right on the mark with 7 years. And I just wanted to spend some extra time with him. And I decided like, it was kind of crazy because like the month he was going downhill was the same month that I was launching a program. And that actually happened this year. The same month I was launching the Roots Method, the reinvented version of it, Dan's dad passed away. So I'm just so glad that I have the systems in place to where it's like I can go and be with family and I can still launch things too and not be like overtaxed. But that was like the year where I was like, okay, this is possible for me. Prior to that, I was still taking off about like 2 to 3 months a year.
Mhm.
I need lots of space for creativity and building things I've never been built before, right? In systems. So like I need that space. I'm a very creative person, and many of you are going to find that as you go into business, like you do need space to build things.
Mhm. I'm sorry that it was for such a sad reason, but I also thank you for highlighting this because again, I never know if I'm doing a good job in terms of showing people why we're actually talking about the money side because it is uncomfortable for people, right? They don't like this and they don't want it to seem like that. But like
Yeah.
what you just talked about, that's you can't put a price on that. That ability to say, no, I need to go do this right now
Yeah.
because something very important, very sad, but also very
Yeah.
important is happening in my life. I got to go move away from this. You can't do that, guys. If you go work at Amazon, Amazon doesn't care. They'll replace you in 2 seconds,
Yep.
and that's the nature of the beast. So I'm even though it's sad, there's a realities of life, and I'm glad that you got to take that time
Yeah.
and not have immense stress or added
Hmm.
stress on top
Yeah.
of it. That's a very rare thing, but I think more people can do it if they hear about opportunities like this. So really cool there.
Hmm.
All right, next one here. Good one. What kind of collaboration did you do with your chiropractor related to your business?
Yeah. So the collaboration I did was when I started there, I had a background in personal training, group fitness, and I also had a background in health coaching. And so I opened up like a studio there first. So we did that, and we were working with her patients and helping them with their fascia and mobility and supporting the ones who were ready to do some personal training and build some strength. So I was working with them in that way. I was also doing some chiropractic assistant work when I wasn't working with those people one on one. Another way I was working with them, though, was health coaching. So I actually, like, she had an office set out for me. So when I had those one-on-one clients, they would come in and I would walk them through, just like how to rebuild their health. And at the time, I was trained in Duke Integrative Medicine, which is health and wellness coaching now. And that's how I really collaborated with her. As I became trained in functional medicine with her, we then had it was a exchange of 50-50. So she did the marketing. She helped like develop the marketing for some of the talks on like Eventbrite and stuff. I had a front desk person helping us out. And then I was working with the people and walking them through. She did like the lab interpretations and such, but I did more of like the lifestyle work. So we
Nice.
worked together in that capacity.
Really cool. And guys, acupuncturists, chiropractors, personal trainers, sometimes a
Yeah.
lot of people need this kind of stuff.
Yeah. She was also an acupuncturist. So we got those people in too.
There you
It
go.
was a really great way to get my face into the community.
Mhm. All right, let's see. Sorry, I'm not even reading these before and I just put them up. So how did you put together your packages and did the price change as time went on or did you keep them the same? Okay, no, I think this would still be fresh even though we talked about the group stuff. So let's touch on this, please.
Yeah. So how did you put your packages and did the price change? Oh yeah, like this has grown and evolved so many times. With business, there's a lot of trial and error. What works? But I also think what also stands true is sticking with something and giving it some time to breathe and grow. And so that's what I do now. When I first started my business, I will say I had shiny object syndrome and I was like creating this software and that course. And I was just like spreading myself too thin. And I think that's also why I didn't make as much money because it was like, what do you do? And like, what is your specialty? And so I was like all over the place kind of, but I had to do that because I had to learn about what I liked and what I enjoyed. And so how I put together packages in the past, I did work with people one-on-one for the first like, oh gosh, that's like talking 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, because we're at 2025. 3 to 4 years, I was doing a lot of one-on-one work, and prior to that, was doing it with a chiropractor. And so the packages, I mean, the pricing, they really varied. So we did incorporate testing in the packages, or I incorporated it at the time. And those packages would vary anywhere from, I mean, when I was just starting out, I was in like the 2,500 range. I ended up growing that to they were between like 3,500 to 7,500. So
Nice.
that's what my packages were at that time. When I ended my one-on-one was up to 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And now with group, I try to keep it within 4,500 to 5,000 is what the group is.
Not bad.
Hmm.
All right, just some nice comments here. I'm always going to highlight them. So someone said, "I love your passion." Yes, I mean Sarah's infectious. But literally, it
Oh,
was so funny because
thanks.
we hadn't talked in a while, and this is a true story. So we're on this 20-minute session that we were doing together for something else, and I just hadn't heard her speak in a while. I'm like, can you come on our Holistic Health Week in October, please? I'm like, it's like you forget until you see her again. You're like, all right, this woman is made for it. So yes, we love her passion as well. Dawn said, thank you for being honest and transparent with us. Yes, Dawn,
Yeah,
Dawn's been on this whole time for
absolutely.
Discovery Series. We try to bring on speakers as well who, I mean, most FDNs are like this, thank God, but we try to
Oh
bring
yeah.
on people who are in the same boat as us with the marketing. We're just going to show you what it is, show you what it isn't. You can make a decision for yourself
Yep.
as to whether or not it's for you. All right, Holly's next. Another one who's been with us the whole Discovery Series. Good morning, Holly. Do you have a repeatable process that you use with every client? I'm guessing in the group setting, it sounds like that might be the case, but I'd love to hear more.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to labs, no. So everybody is a unique biochemical individual, as you'll find in FDN. And so with the labs and everything, I create, and I have FDN support me with that too, their own protocols. So they're not going to have the same protocols for that. But I have created systems and processes inside of my business where somebody joins and they know exactly those next steps. Like they're onboarded really well, they have the support they need, and like there is that repeatable process. I developed called the Roots Method. This is really my own lived experience dealing with parasites and chronic mold toxicity, terrible hormone imbalances and digestive issues. So it's really what I've developed. But then I also use FDN for like the labs and like, the dress protocols and everything to support people as well. So there is individual support, of course, but there are when it comes to a group and a small group, like that's what I love about it is like you're gonna find that with everybody, they're going to need certain lifestyle things because people who come to me, I'm very specific with who they are. They're high performing women. They're normally ages 30 to like, I work with women into their 60s. I have a 72-year-old client. But here's the deal. Even if they're in like perimenopause or menopause, they most likely have the same stuff on their labs and a lot of similar stuff going on and certain support that they need that kind of crosses over. So that's like those things I've put together in a repeatable process.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Interesting question here. Which customer was the hardest and why? I don't know that I understand the second part of the question. I'm sorry if that's just me. Maybe Sarah does, but we could definitely start with the first part. Which customer, if you remember, was the hardest and why? I would not recommend mentioning their name, but maybe we just in general.
This was in the beginning of business. Like I had a few of these. And I needed it, because everybody is going to teach you, they're going to push you. They're going to teach you where your boundaries are not in place. And, I am a giver. I've always been a people pleaser. I've worked on that big time, but I love people and I want to support them. So like at the end of the day, like I will bend over backwards to like, like I used to. I now have a lot of good boundaries in place,
Mhm.
but you get me on a bad day, I will do anything. But one the one that comes to mind for me is she just didn't matter what we were doing or what we were finding. She always found a reason not to do it or not to stick with it. And here's my theory on this though. It's not that people are bad or they're doing the wrong things or they're hard clients. Like I don't even like to say hard client. The truth is, it's like not that this person's being annoying, but it's like what happened to them that made them that way. Right. And so a lot of what I do in my program is support people with their nervous systems. Many of the women who come to me, they are overwhelmed and they are like, they're not functioning. They're not able to think straight. They're not able to make great decisions because they're toxic. Their burden is really high. And so I know that coming in and I give them a lot of grace and compassion. But, it can be challenging with even knowing that and having someone go through the process, which is very rare that I get anymore. It's like one in like 50 anymore. But that just doesn't follow the process. And I think that hurts, right? Because it's like, I know it works. I know it's going to help you, but they have to meet you halfway. You can give them all the tools and knowledge and support and labs, but they got to meet you there. And that's what I found was like sometimes you just got to let that go. Some people have to learn. They just have to. I've bought programs before and didn't do them, and that sucked.
Yeah.
That really sucked. I'll be completely honest with you. That stinks.
Mhm.
But I had to go through that to be like,
Oh, sorry, Sarah, you disappeared for a second. Just bringing you back in. You're
okay,
all good. We heard everything. It's just that really stinks, and then we cut out.
yeah, but I had to go through that to really to be like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to buy the thing and show up for it.
Awesome. I know that we're far into this now, and again, Sarah and I talk fast and stuff. I hope you guys caught that part about the boundaries because it's funny as you've changed that and been able to set that for yourself. It's not that those people don't exist, but I love how it happened a bunch in the beginning for you, said, but now it's only about 1 out of 50.
Yeah.
Now the world's the same. I'd say the world's crazier now than it was back then, probably a few years ago. So it's interesting though how you change and that changes.
Yes.
Kind of just something for everyone to notice. I don't know if that's
Yes.
going to go over people's heads for right now, but
That
it'll make
and
more
my
sense when you go
messaging.
through it.
I got way more clear on my messaging.
Okay,
Hmm.
good point.
Hmm.
All right, and thank you, Mission, for. I'm not skipping any questions. This person just was following up and clarifying, so I think that's fair to go here still. So they meant to say, so after your first customer, that was the hardest. What was it that you did to start to prepare for that program? Um, I don't. I don't know if you want to touch on anything you did different for the program, but I think you laid out very clearly what you changed in the future to help
Oh
prevent
yeah.
that situation. Did you end up even working with those people that were super difficult?
So I have actually fired clients before in the past. So
Okay.
that only happened with 3 people ever before. That was a one-on-one. But other than that, I haven't had an issue. People understand and they're like, oh, okay. People just want to be guided and leaded correctly and have support. And so one of the biggest things that taught me early on in my business is I need a really good onboarding system. So the moment you sign up with me, you get an email of 5 steps of what you're going to do. You know exactly what to do. It's very clear. You go to the program portal, you listen to the welcome email, you hear all of our boundaries and expectations in the program. I'm very upfront about that because I'm working with women who are people pleasers and perfectionists, and they have very, very leaky boundaries. And I have women go through that program and they're like, I am so inspired by the boundaries that you keep in place because people like boundaries. They want them because they want to know where you end and they begin. And it gives them permission to do that in their own lives. And it's not like, I'm being mean about it. I'm just saying this is how we do things here. And I'm very upfront and honest with it. I'm a very honest person because when you're not, it bites you in the butt. And so that's how we do things. The second day, they're onboarded. I just have my community manager. She goes in, she's like, hey, how you doing? Do you need any help? Like, do you need any support navigating the community? So that's really like how I design that. It's just the process is so clear. You could do it with your eyes closed kind of thing. And that's what it really helped me develop is like, okay, instead of like some nuances and like kind of room left to navigate this and think about this in our brain, like how about we just know exactly what to do next? So that's helped. It's taught me a
Excellent.
lot.
All right. We covered some of the places. Just make sure we have all of this down. The live talks. It sounds like some of it was done with the chiropractor, some online. Any other in-person places that were good for doing in-person talks?
Yeah. So, holistic health practitioner. So, I've done it like acupuncture offices,
Okay.
chiropractors, network spinal, which is a form of chiropractic here in Charleston that we have. Oh my goodness, I've gone to like smoothie bars. I have, where else have I done talks? I've done like outdoor talks. I mean, we live in Charleston, but you can still do that in Pennsylvania. I did some outdoor talks at like parks.
Mhm.
Here I do some at the beach. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You don't have to necessarily like rent out a space even. There's people like my chiropractor who's just like, I want people in here sharing the knowledge and support. So it doesn't have to even cost you any money. But there are some instances where I'll pay a little bit of money to have a talk as well at a location.
Thank you for mentioning both sides because I always share that as well. And it's like people might hear this and say, how do you get in with a chiropractor acupuncturist? I don't necessarily know Sarah's exact strategy, but guys, you can do almost anything in life if you think like this. Okay, what does the other person in front of me want? Can I ethically give that to them? And if I can, then they're probably going to be more inclined to give me what I want. Not always, you get bad people out there, whatever, generally speaking. So a chiropractor, you and them, for example, are not in competition. So I would imagine that one of the things you would like those people at the talk to do is probably go to a chiropractor regularly, right? So just by you saying, hey, I'm going to promote to these people why chiropractic's great, I'm also going to talk about why my stuff's great. Man, there's
Mhm.
no competition.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to host you then, right? You're hyping up their stuff. So I've taught them to do this, Sarah, too, with the natural health food stores. I'm like, are you guys planning on opening up a
Yeah.
grocery store? No. Perfect. Tell the people that own the natural health food store that you're going to tell everyone at the talk why this food is the best and the
Yeah.
only place that they should be shopping if they're
Yep.
currently in this town. And then great. Why would they not want to have you come speak? You're helping them as
Yeah.
well. So that's a great way to
Yeah.
get things out of life, right? Is help other
Good
people
idea.
first. All right, what do we got next, folks? Okay, so the only part we didn't talk about is how did you advertise them? And I am actually curious about that myself, especially for the ones at the beach and stuff. How do you generally advertise these talks?
Yeah, so those ones were specifically through networking groups. So I reached out, and I was actually a part of a networking group, but I reached out to a few different networking groups because, again, my target market is women and female entrepreneurs are my people. And that's majority of what I get in my programs because I speak to that. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to find some networking groups in Charleston area and I'm going to connect with them. And I asked them, I was like, hey, can I deliver some support in, you know, to your people, because usually they're looking for speakers, they're looking for people to come in and share something with them. And I talked about burnout and with entrepreneurs, and so we ended up just doing a talk on the beach. We did a talk at somebody's yoga studio. Yeah, there's just so many different ways, but like Evan was saying, like it's just a win-win strategy, right? We don't want to necessarily do it. We can also do this like with our colleagues. I have a ton of so most of my friends are FDNs, which is really funny. And a lot of them, like my really good friends, do the same work as me and we still collaborate with each other. So, I mean, there's ways that you can support. Maybe it's like my zone of genius is like parasites and her zone of genius is emotions. And we're going to like pull that together and talk about it. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. And how I've advertised them. So like with chiropractors and such. So a lot of them, what they did is they actually advertised that to their community and we would charge a low fee. So for example, one of the first talks I did with a chiropractor here, the first year I moved, it was like $35 for my talk, which was like an hour and a half. And I led them through some practices, like some nervous system stuff too. And $35, I think we had 40 people, and we had like an even exchange that we had, and they marketed it. So there's great ways you can do that. I didn't pay anything. I just made money and I showed up.
It's insane. I didn't even think about that part because, like, I'll charge very low fees, but it's more just for commitment, and there's a few reasons for that. But I've never charged
Yeah.
that high. Not that it's high. I'm just saying I've never charged that exact amount. And it's like, yeah, you think about it. Wow, the chiropractor's already up $1,200 just for
Oh
hosting a
yeah.
talk that night. Like, dang, awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Know your market, right?
All right. You guys are great. We are on the hour. I'm going to give Sarah half a second to breathe here and grab that sip of water. Remember, we're in our Discovery Series, largest Black Friday sale ever here at FDN. It is $2,000 off the FDN course. I'm not poking at other health coaching and health certifications. We love them. There's a lot of great ones out there. But I do have to specify this sometimes. So, I go to these other programs and I look at their websites and they'll give you $2,000 off just for having a pulse. So $2,000 is really our biggest sale.
Yeah.
And guys, the reason that is because we have raw cost to the course that other places don't. So yes, we're an online program. We have full group training and support the entire time you're there, one-on-one mentorship, over $1,000 worth of labs now that are included in the cost of tuition. So those raw costs for us mean that the course actually costs more to facilitate. So I just want people to know that. I think it's become sad, but all these places give away so much. I mean, they'll give away $4,000 on an $8,000 program. I'm like, I'm not trying to, again, throw shade, but you kind of have to wonder, how are you even able to give away $4,000 on an $8,000 program? Like, how much are you overcharging the person normally then that pays that amount? So $2,000 is our biggest sale that we have ever done since this course started in 2008. The sale began on November 10th. It is good until the end of the day on December 1st, California time, 11:59 p.m. Pacific. I know someone in the audience. I know someone does not love time zones. So yes, California time at 11:59 at night. And that'll be good until that time. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys on the other side of the course. I know there's quite a few of you in the chat that I've recognized throughout the last week and a half that you're just figuring it all out, getting it settled, but you are fully good for FDN. And then at 3:00 Eastern today, we'll be on with Sarah for another 29 minutes and just keep killing her with questions. She's great. Take a 30-minute break, and then we'll be on with Jennifer Woodward to do a peptides and perimenopause case study. So presented in a similar way to you guys saw Ryan's the other day. We're going to go over the labs, all the stuff. It's going to be fun, and that'll be at 3:00 Eastern. Okay, we talked about this one. Let's see what's next. Oh, this was someone talking in the chat. All right. I think you did cover this at this point, and I assume that it counts for your group programs as well. So this person asked, what age are your clients? So that's anywhere from 30 to 72. It could be even.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Oh, nice. Well, you've mentioned a lot about systems. So someone asked, what systems specifically do you use to run your business? And what percentage of your business is 100% automated? Big questions, but let's see what we can do.
Yeah, sure. So I use a platform called Kajabi. Not saying it's the best one out there, it's just the one I've been using. I've had it for a very long time since I like even started my personal training business. So probably had it for like 7 or 8 years at this point. So they've evolved and changed within time. I use it for email marketing, CRM, so my customer retention, marketing systems, my website. I use it for courses. I use it for my community. I'm a simple kind of girl. I don't want to have a million things in my tech stack. I want to keep things simple. So it really works for me. I also do my coaching calls through there. This is the first year I no longer use Zoom. So everything's through there. Um, Simple. I like it. It just makes my life easier. And I tell them what to improve. They actually listen to us, which is cool. And so, what percentage of my business is 100% automated? Um, that it's hard to like put a percent to it. My entire onboarding process is automated. My offboarding process is automated. The in between, here's what I'll tell you. Instead of giving you a percentage, I'll tell you what I show up for. So I show up 2 times a month. We do office hours once a month for an hour. We do, or it goes to an hour and a half sometimes. And I do a live training, a live immersion, I call it with them. So I teach and they do embodiment work and then they have their action steps. So we do that twice a month. Then once a week, I have an office hours portal area where they just drop all their questions and I answer them. So that's really where I show up. My community manager, she's navigating the community. She's creating challenges for everybody based on the products and the systems I've created. But that's honestly where I show up. I have a VIP part of it where if people do need one-on-one sessions, I am currently available for that. This is the only round that I'm doing that in though, because our next round, as I was saying, I'm going to be hiring an FDN or two to do that part for me, which is really fun and exciting. I've hired FDNs in the past. I like will only hire FDNs because just the level of training they have and what they know. I want people who are smarter than me, and I'm like, that's an FDN. So I yeah, so I'm looking for someone who knows how to do certain labs and also like is really great with, communicating in the group. So I can really just put my CEO hat on and create. And I'm going to be starting a podcast and writing a book. I'm in the middle of doing that, and I'm really focusing on my speaking career. So that's where I'm going to be focused, but I'm still going to be in the program because I literally love what I do. And I tell people that too, is like, you join this program and you actually get me. So many programs, it's like you join and like you don't actually see the person who runs it. Like you get like all these other people, like you actually get me in it. I'm always going to be in it. So that's what's really fun about it. But a lot of it is automated, but there's still a ton of human touch to it. And I think that's really important just for me in particular, because I love connecting with people.
OB, for whatever it's worth, to Sarah, you know Jen Maleka, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my good friend Jen, I don't know if I'd say this if she was live. She's doesn't always like my Ev humor, but she likes me, so I can get away with some stuff. But Jen, for those that don't know, is full-time robot, part-time human female. So she has systematized everything that like things you wouldn't even think of that could be
Well, I gotta learn
systematized.
from her.
Whatever it's worth, OB, if you want to aspire to this, she genuinely believes and backs this up on her spreadsheet. She thinks about 70% of all the FDN stuff that you do can be automated while still, being in integrity and doing stuff with your clients. Now, she also works one-on-one primarily. She has some group stuff as well. But it's not even the point. Let's say you got half as close as Jen, right? And you're at 35%. The bottom line is the fact, this is what's so cool about the tech nowadays. Because if you guys aren't in business yet, you don't think like this yet, which is fine. When you work a 9 to 5, if you become more efficient, your boss doesn't say you get to go home early. You're going to just have to put more into the hours. Maybe you can get a promotion for that if they're a good boss, but you're still going to put in those hours. At a business, if you automate 35% of your business, two options. Either one, you get to scale now because you can do more of that other stuff that helps you get in new clients or serve new clients, right? The human part. Or you get to take 3 months off and go do things that are really important to you at that time in your life. So that is what's so exciting about it. And that's why Jen takes it so seriously, right? But she likes to take, I think it's like 3 to 4 vacations every year, 2 weeks at a time. Everything's perfectly scheduled. She keeps notes on her vacations for those that don't know. So if you ever want notes on a vacation, I've never even heard of that until I met my wonderful robot friend, Jen. So I hope you guys like all that stuff. Uh, Someone said here, I'm inspired and encouraged by your story, Sarah. Awesome. Thank you for
Oh,
the kind words. We always welcome that as
awesome.
well. FDNP here, building my business on my fifth practical. Awesome. Congrats. What are your thoughts on only offering the whole 5 labs and 3-month coaching protocol program? So, for those that don't know, just sorry, brief context, that's what's taught as the standard in FDN. We don't own you afterwards. You're allowed to do what you like within legal scope, of course. And that's why we give you access to all the labs. So, Sarah, let's say, though, if I can modify this question just a little bit, let's say someone has just graduated and doesn't have experience, doesn't know all the other stuff, and they learned FDN, what would you say about the 5 labs and the few months of coaching in that case?
I would say definitely do those 5 labs. That would be my recommendation. Do not overcomplicate things. My goodness, I love our community of FDNs, but a lot of them are like they're trying to, do what someone's been doing like 5 years later. Like just so you know, I use different labs now, but I've been trained in them for years. The 5 labs FDN teaches you are so valuable and can change your life and the people you work with. Stick to it. Just stick to it. I promise you're going to make money. Like you're going to help people, you're going to make money. And don't overcomplicate. Don't, feel like you have to know other things because there's people who are very successful in FDN who just do the 5 labs.
Yep.
For me, like I just had different passions and like that's totally fine, right? But yeah, and having a 3-month coaching program, absolutely. When I started off, like I loved my 3-month coaching program. I worked with people 3 to 4 months, and I also had like a 6-month package. So whatever works for you. But I think, starting at 3 months is a great place to just like get your feet wet. And guess what? That person is probably going to want to re-enroll with you because that's what was happening for me. It's like I started with 3 months, and then the person was like, what do we do next? Like I'm ready to go to the next layer. You could have them enroll for another 3 months, so you can make it a 6-month program, but start small.
Thanks, Sarah. And Alexis, that's not my passion for it is not directed at you. It's just because I know that we have people that
Mhm.
aren't even FDNs on yet, right? That are about to jump into training. And you might have a whole new or a whole different background in this for all I know. What I do know is this though, there's a lot of FDNs that this is the first real program that they do. They get out, they're in AFDNP, Sarah, and they want to do all these fancy labs. And it's like, guys, the best lab for your client is the one that you know how to utilize and you
Yes.
learned them in the course, right? So you start there. And if you want to do anything else, why do you think FDN has access to all this stuff? We're not stupid. We know that you guys are going to want to branch out into that. Some
Mhm.
of you, at least. Some are going to want to go crazy with it. Like my business partner, Ryan Monahan. That guy is a nut. He literally can probably tell you something intelligent about every single lab that we offer on that medical director program thing. That's nuts. That's not me. I don't even want to do that.
Yes.
So you can go as far as you want here. But remember, when someone's money's involved and they're paying us and they want us to serve them, the best way to serve them is doing what we're trained in at that time. That's my 5 cents. All right. Someone said, this is Dina. Love your talk. Thank you. Curious
Thank
if you
you.
offer your clients payment plans. And if so, how does this work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love to have options for them. So I have a few different options. I have the pay in full, so they get a little bit of a discount if they pay in full. And then for the Roots method, currently we're running that as a 6-month program. Because the roots, we take them through our 6 or 5 to 6 different layers. And the payment plan goes throughout those 6 months. I also have ability for them to use a buy now, pay later option. So I use Klarna and Affirm. So there's some other options for people out there if they really need like a lower payment plan. I believe for oh, we've changed it. So let's just say it was like $700 a month. You could probably get that through Klarna for maybe like $250 a month, but it would have some interest and it would be a little bit longer. So I love to have flexible options for people. And in having that, we've been able to get people to sign up a lot more easily. They can say yes more easily because they have, empowered choice and agency in choosing like what works for them in their lifestyle right now.
Mhm. While we get the next one up here, for those that have USA clients or are planning on having US based clients, we do have access to something called the Advanced Care Card. Downside, it's going to take about a week and a half for the person to get it once they're approved. Upside, 0% interest for 15 months, no prepayment
Nice.
penalties. So you basically can make it, it could be a 10-month payment plan, it could be an 8-month. You get what I'm saying? Because there's no interest. So they can make it whatever they want. So just something else that you guys have access to. Um, I'm not trying to skip this one, but someone said, could you explain more about the group packages? This was asked before. I feel like we have touched on that a lot. And we easily can get to your follow-up questions. So let me know if anything specifically you'd like to hear more about. So after your this was the follow-up from before. What's the duration of the group program? I think you just said 6 months, correct?
Yes.
So you work with it for half a year. Um, and all right, this is the final question that came up from the audience. Don't worry, guys. I have other stuff too if you want me to do that. But how long was your program when you did do one-on-one? I think you've even said with that it's been
Yeah.
3 to 6 months as well.
Yeah, 3 to 6 months.
Okay, cool. Remember, I will prioritize your questions or any follow-ups, so please throw them in. Otherwise, I got some other stuff for Sarah here. One of the things in particular I wanted to ask you today, because you mentioned this to Michelle on our Instagram live that you did with her just about a week ago. Uh, I think it was something around clarity of message, and you even indirectly kind of brought that up today, where you said how important that was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you is, what was one of the most important things, do you think, in kind of getting to where you're at now in business? And I kind of already know that that is one of them. So
Mhm.
is it the clarity of message that you think has been like kind of the number one thing in terms of growth? Has it been something else? Is it the system? So I'd love to touch on
Yeah,
what's been the number one thing, and then if it's not
sure.
the clarity, let's touch on that next.
Sure. It's a few different things, and I'll get to the messaging in a second because that's not
Sure.
the only thing, but that is very important. For me, the first thing is like energy. So I always say like energy leads your strategy. So if your energy is depleted, like the things that give us life force, cellular energy, no strategy is going to work. I know that when my energy is high, things flow more, synchronicities happen, the right people come into my space. So your energy is really like the engine of your business. And I believe that energy is the currency of change. So we want to change our life, we want to change our business. Energy is going to be the price of admission. Now, I learned though, like, what are the things that give me that energy? So I talk a lot about cellular energy in my program, but what are the things that light me up, right? And for me, like it's right here speaking to all of you. I love Q&A. I love speaking. I love sharing the message. I love creating. I'm obsessed with building different systems in my business and creating and learning about the nervous system and learning about mitochondria and learning about gut health. Like I love researching and learning and pulling those things together. I love networking and hosting workshops. What I don't love is being on social media all day and scrolling. I don't love discovery calls. I joke, I don't do discovery calls. I take orders. And because the truth is the people who are on, if we even do discovery calls or really do them, but people buy without them, if they're because we have such a good funnel set up to where it's like people are going through and they're like, I know, love, and trust you. Like, I'm sold, I'm ready. And so if they're on a call, which I do very few of them anymore, they already know they want it. They're just asking a question or two. So
Mhm.
I'm really intentional with that. Oh gosh, when I started my business though, like I was like in discovery call after discovery call because that was like my form of marketing research. It was really, really helpful. But now I know my person, so I don't necessarily need to be in those anymore. So like those are the things I don't love as much. And so I spend less time doing them. I either remove them or I delegate them or I have certain days of the week where I'm focused on them so I'm not always like fragmenting my energy. So that's like a really big thing is like make sure you're doing things, and I know building a business is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, and I'm never going to say that like you're not going to put that sweat equity in. Like
Mhm.
I work 12 to 15 hours a week normally. If there's like vacation, I fully take off. I don't even look at my phone. Everything is offloaded on my apps. Or if I'm in a launch week, it might be 20 hours a week or 30 hours that week. But my normal week is 12 to 15. And the truth is, like, I wouldn't have been able to get there doing everything. But I also had to go through parts of my business that were very challenging to identify what I actually wanted. So get clear on what gives you energy. Make sure you're doing that. Even if you're in like the bootstraps of building a business, still find those things that give you energy and make sure you make time for them. That is so important because when I don't do that, I actually don't make as much money. So I really want to be clear on that. That is like my secret sauce. I know it can sound woo woo sometimes, but like energy, like what brings you joy and life force, like it matters. And if you can't tell, I love FDN and I love this work. So at least you're doing that, something that brings you a lot of joy. Um, the other thing that I think has really helped me build my business is mastery through focus. So when I was in the beginning of my business, I was just kind of like figuring it out and figuring out what I like, but I was doing too many things. Like I said, I had a membership, I had a course, I had like these freebies, and I had this webinar, and like it was just like so much going on in these packages. And it got to the point where like people were kind of confused, and confused people will not buy, right? And we learned that. We sometimes learn that the hard way, but I also was confused and I needed to develop, something that felt clear for me. So the Roots Method is my signature program. I run that currently once a year. We might do it twice a year, depending if we have good systems for next year. But I run that once a year and I do it dang good. Like I get really good at that one thing. I refine it, I repeat it, I make the systems for it, and this is our first time launching it in this different way. So I've launched it as a course before, and I've actually launched it as a small group, but we refined the whole process. So it was like our first actual launch of this version this year. So I've already learned a lot. I've developed even better systems for 2026, but it's like refine what works, repeat what works, create that predictability in your business and that residual income. Like that is so important to have, because then that way you can just like really lean back on your mastery. I always say, like, do, even if it's one thing, like be really good at it. Develop mastery around something, because when you're a master at something, people will come to you. When I was a health coach, I just wanted to help people, right? I just wanted to support people, but I wasn't clear about what I was a master in and what I could support. And so like people just kind of breeze through and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the person who focuses on fertility, or I'm going to go to the person who focuses on energy or mold or whatever that might be. Not saying you have to like niche down that far, but it can help. So that is the one thing for me, is like do one thing and do it dang good. And then when it comes to messaging, that really kind of flows in there, is like when you figure out that thing, when you have mastery around something, like you get paid better for it. People come out of the woodwork and they search for you. Like I don't post sometimes for weeks at a time, and I get DMs where somebody listened to like a podcast, or they listen to one of these trainings with FDN, and they're just like, hey, like what you said spoke to me, like how can I work with you? Like I really love how you do this one thing. So like just keep in mind, like people are always listening, but when you're a master in something, like when you really own that thing, like that can really make you really happy and make you a lot of money.
You're like draw. I hope again people actually get this. And guys, this is all on replay. Remember, these replays are free. You have instant availability to them at this Discovery Series event. But there's so many. I don't even know where to start. So, do you know the Gary Vaynerchuk guy, the guy that's always yelling at people online?
I never listened to him, but I've like heard bits like online.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, he's a good enough guy. Like, I mean, some
Yeah,
people don't
yeah.
like his style. He's a fine guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, we'd be closer to him than not, minus the cursing. Like, we're just, we're excitable too. But you hit on something in the beginning of that answer where Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this. He said, "Business is not like basketball." And you're like, "Oh, well, obviously, yeah." But no, there's a lesson here. In basketball, if I want to play professionally, and I have a great jump shot, I'm right-handed. I have a great jump shot. So I have a bad left hand though. Well, to play in the NBA, I'm going to have to work on my left hand. In business, that's not how it works. In business, I can partner with a left hand or hire a left hand, obviously,
Mm.
metaphorically speaking. So, what you described, though, is perfect, because in the beginning, no one knows who you are, no one cares. So, you kind of do have to do everything, and you might have to do some things that aren't even your favorite or whatever. But there's a point where your value in that thing that you're great at, that thing that lights you up, it could be things as well, it could be multiple
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
that starts becoming so exponentially useful that you can hire out the other stuff. And now you get to
Yes.
focus on that thing that you love 80, 90% of the time. It's energizing and it flies. Like, how do you go, even your numbers, right? Because this is typical in terms of how people grow businesses. How do you go 40K more or less the first year? And you already made like 20K self employed the year before. So
Mhm.
it was double, but it's not anything crazy.
Mhm.
Then six figures. Then bam, 200,000. Then, oh, wait, by the way, I take 3 months off a year. And when I said work, I mean I work 12 to 15 hours a
Right.
week on average, because I didn't
Right.
even know that until you said that. It's like
Yeah.
that can only happen when we're in that zone of genius, in my opinion, and really feeding into that. So I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I hope people really get that. I also like that you said when you're really good at what you do. This is something people don't want to hear this crap, right? Because they like to believe the world's unfair and it's easy to have a victim mindset. The bottom line is, guys, if you're half decent at something, there's never been an easier time to get noticed because of online. Like, yeah, 70 years ago, no. Maybe the son who had rich daddy was able to go into the place just because of that.
Yeah.
Now, does that still happen today? Yes. But if I'm an amazing singer, if I'm an amazing practitioner, I can put myself out there. You don't get the only stage now. I can have one
Yeah.
with Instagram. I can have one
Yeah.
with Facebook. I can have one with
Mhm.
YouTube or talking in my local town. You actually can't ignore people who are exceptional anymore. So if you're not getting the response that you want, go keep putting in the work. until you and Tony Robbins talks about this, right? We're rewarded in public for what we work on in private.
Oh.
We are rewarded in public for what we work on in private. So the harder you work on yourself and
Mm.
those types of things becomes very hard to ignore. It's like Sarah. I can't get her on enough stuff. She's great at speaking to people. I'm like, please, come on. How do we get you on more? So that's awesome. OB threw in some last second things here. Thank you. How do you use Kajabi to receive signed client intake forms, store their records, and maintain HIPAA compliance? Thanks.
Okay. Well, I actually use a different software for that. So I don't do everything through Kajabi. It's more so like my big things, course, community, and everything. So I actually have my own platform for that. But for prior to that, I've been using Practice Better. That's always been my go-to.
Cool. That
I
makes
use
more
that for
sense.
about
I was
5
actually
years.
kind of wondering in the back of my head. I'm like, does she only use Kajabi?
Yeah.
All right. What worked better for you, posting your fees online or disclosing them only during discovery calls? Well, I guess they must be online somewhere because you're not really doing discovery calls anymore.
Yeah, I've done both. Here's the thing. I actually personally like to disclose my fees. Um, I want to make sure someone knows what they're coming into. So that's personally what I like to do. I like transparency. I don't really love buying from people who don't disclose their fees. So I just personally do what I like to do. But I've done both. I've played around with both to kind of see what happens. The one funnel I have right now, which we're going to update for next year, I have them actually, they listen to the video and they send us an email and they ask about more details and we give them, the price and everything before like they hop on a call or anything.
Really interesting.
Mhm.
Let me see. Okay, cool. I didn't want to do a follow up if there was, because I have a follow up for it, but if there was other questions, I didn't want to. So my follow up for that, and please don't just, I know you're super nice. I want you to disagree with me if you don't like this. I had given advice loosely in the past of saying, I would switch it based on the problem someone has in terms of disclosing prices.
Mhm.
So if I have no discovery calls, again, this is also assuming that the person is
Mhm.
doing discovery calls, which is what FDN teaches at least at that first level. Remember, as your
Mhm.
business evolves, you can evolve, and obviously Sarah's has in many ways. So if I had no discovery calls and I'm very short on them, I want as many as possible. Well, then to me, I don't disclose the price not to
Mhm.
hide something, but because I need to spend more time building that value on the
Mhm.
discovery call.
Yep.
Then if my problem switched to holy crap, Sarah, I'm taking 20 per week. This is killing me. Yeah, I'm getting clients, but it's like almost too much. And I'm getting a lot of people that can't afford it. Maybe 90% are saying no, only 10% saying yes. Yeah, I might have to look at the marketing and some other systems. But in that case, I would start disclosing. So I start lowering the amount of people that are showing up, but
Right.
I'm getting higher close rates.
Yeah.
And again, please, I don't want you to just be nice. Like, do you like that strategy or would you not personally shift it in that way?
That's how I started. Yes.
Okay, okay.
That's exactly how I started. So I did free discovery calls. I did not have the price anywhere, and that it worked really well for me. But, I'm in a different season of business now and I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I would love to get somebody on my like do sales for me in the future, to be honest with you. I'm like, you're like someone like your wife. Oh my gosh, like that would be a dream. But yeah, no, I see so much value in that because like you do want to build the value on the call. Like that's really important for you. Another thing I wanted to mention that I played around with, because there's no, right or wrong way. I actually, so for the discovery call, because I don't have somebody on my sales team currently right now, I'm doing the calls. I have a very low fee. So it's like $50 because I want
Hmm.
people showing up. So they get that refunded towards the program. And I've had the people who have booked a calls, they've all shown up. But before I
Yeah.
used to have like some no-shows. So playing around with that, and it helped a little bit.
And you had said before, I wanted to get to this. So there's a handful of people, if not a lot of people, that are currently getting into a group program that's $4,500 to $5,000 without any call, and they're doing this just through a funnel.
Yes.
Oh man, see, this is the stuff
Yes.
I'm hoping because if they're not in business, they don't get that. That is what we call very cool, my friends,
I hope
because that
we
doesn't
broke
start
some
to happen
brains.
very often. So well done. Oh my
One
god.
of my best friends who's an FDN, I literally recently I shared that with her and like this I showed her the numbers of this launch and like her brain broke. She's like, "Okay, cool. Now I know what's possible."
Yeah, no,
And we're
that's
delivering. We're serving people, It's not just about the money, right? But like that's what's possible.
oh, well, I mean, you said, okay, you already proved it, and I
Mhm.
can prove it in one sentence.
Yeah.
You said a lot of your business now comes from referrals.
Yeah.
Very few people, folks, refer their friends, family, and loved ones to multi-thousand-dollar packages unless it worked exceptionally well for them. So you can always tell if you're doing well as an FDN and serving people at a high level because they'll be sending you referrals. Again, I don't know about you guys. You send your friends to go spend 4 or 5 grand unless it worked for you? I would never do that. I would only do that if I knew that it was going to work so well for them that they'd be like happy that they spent the 4 or 5 grand afterwards. So there's nothing wrong with charging any amount. You got to give the right value for what you're doing. And it sounds like Sarah is
Yeah.
absolutely nailing that.
You know what,
We have,
Ev? Something I
yeah,
wanted to add to that though,
please.
something that's even better. Something I've started doing, and I don't advertise like doing this in every group, but I started in the local groups in Charleston, where people like will talk about hormone issues or gut issues. I'll just plug myself in there, and I'll like add I'll add value, and I'll put my information, like reach out. I through this last launch, I had 3 people through one Facebook group, and one of them, she was in the group for a week. She loved it so much she referred her friend. She doesn't even know me, she knew me for a
Yes.
week. So like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and it just comes down to this. People got to know that you exist. And that's what I
Mhm.
always say, because we'll get some FDNs that I love you guys, be a little more shy. All good. I have been there myself. I know people will never believe that. I could not, I had severe social anxiety when I was a kid. Couldn't talk to males or females
Wow.
without blushing. And I say the female thing because, like, sometimes a young guy gets nervous, whatever. But like, I couldn't even talk to a dude without blushing. It
Wow.
was not in my thing. So you got to put yourself out there. It's a skill that can be learned, obviously. And the shyer ones will be like, well, Ev, I don't want to do public talks. I say, no problem. What else can you do? Oh, I don't want to do social media. Okay, no problem. Oh, I don't want to talk to my friends or family about this. I don't want to be pushy. I'm like, awesome. So you tell me then, how are people going to know that you exist so that they can actually even consider your services, let alone buy them? And that's where I get like the deer in headlights, which of course we know all too well is Pennsylvania, former residents. They have no idea what they're like. Oh, that's a good point. If no one knows I exist, they can't use my services. So you got to put yourself out there in some way.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out what that is for you. And I think what you just said is it's chill. Like just being in a Facebook group, throwing a comment in, adding some value, shameless plug for
Yep.
yourself. Like anyone can do that, guys.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that.
Sitting at the beach yesterday, putting myself in the group. I mean, it's that easy. And it's visibility, guys. You got to be visible. And we need more FDNs who are speaking about these things. Like there's no lack of people who need help. I mean, when there's someone who's not in my wheelhouse, I'm referring to my FDN friends. I'm like, hey, I know someone for that. So there's so many people that need this help.
I have a question for the audience and then a final question for you. And I do have to put this comment up. This is super nice. Alexis said, this is so good. FDN is really the best out there, people. Thank you, Alexis. That's awesome. And I'm
No.
looking forward for you to graduate. So question for the audience and then a question for Sarah while we wait for those answers to come in since we have our delay. My question for the audience here is, I know that I can get away with putting Sarah on the spot for this, so I don't think she'll be mad at me because it's kind of fun. So it's going to be a while from now. It's in June, but I always need a keynote speaker for our summer open house. So you guys just let me know if that would be a good keynote speaker for our summer open house. Please drop just either a thank you or a yes below for Sarah. So a thank you or yes, and maybe we can get that arranged for June of 2026 if she's available. Now, while we wait for those answers to come in and see what those people say, I did want to ask you, and that's again, keep it transparent. I would never, ever want someone on here hyping something up just to be nice to us. I want you to give the full thing here. For someone that is on the fence about FDN this year, they're still trying to figure out, hey, should I do this? Should I take the leap? And they're not debating back and forth because Reed talks about this too. They're not debating back and forth between paying the dang electric bill and paying FDN. We're not saying that. Pay your electric bill, go get things figured out because that's just going to add stress then. But you're like, oh, this be a little bit of a stretch, but man, I could do this. Or even worse, I've done 5 other programs. None of them have worked for me in the way that I wanted. Do I actually do this one? What would you say to those people who are kind of on the fence right now? They can do it, but they're not sure yet if this would actually be worth it for them.
Yeah. You got to listen to that feeling inside of you, like what your soul's calling to you. Because if this is like something that is lighting you up and getting you excited and giving you energy in that life force, it's probably the right decision because that's what it was doing for me. And yeah, I didn't have like all the money in the world to invest in this at the time. I actually took out, we didn't talk about this. I took out a small business loan to pay for FDN. Like you guys, I went through my savings. Like I went through so much money just trying to make my dream work. And I was like, but I'm ready for this. So that was stretching me. And I'm not saying everybody go and do that. I don't know if that was the smartest thing. I paid it off, so we're okay. But it if you feel excited about something, like it's meant for you. And I truly believe like our desires are meant for us, but we have to take the leap and we have to move forward with that. So if you have that calling, maybe you don't, and that's totally fine too. But I do know something is that we need more FDNs. We truly do. I love this community so much. Like I said, my best friends are in this community. Like I have met some incredible people and I hire FDNs If I'm not the person for them, I recommend people, my family members, even to FDNs. Like it's an incredible group. And if you feel called, take that leap.
Thank you, Sarah. And guys, look forward to Sarah being on a stage near you. The delay always kills me because I was like, wow, do they not want her as a keynote? And then bam, it finally came through. I was like, phew, like, come on, I thought this would be an easy yes, guys. So yeah, we will get to talk about that. I'd love to get you planned for 2026. I think it'd be a great fit. Um, yeah, and look forward to finding Sarah on a stage near you. Where can they find you, my friend? Because maybe they're about to go through FDN. They might not be a client, but guys, we can always support each other on social. A simple like on some posts, that does add up. That means something to all of us. It's social credibility. And not to mention, maybe you can learn a thing or two from seeing what she does. So where can they find you?
Yeah, so the best way to find me, I'm most active on Instagram. So it's at the Hormone Goddess. You'll find me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, but not as active on there as just Sarah Ball. And I have a website which we're making prettier and rebranding, but that's www.hormonegoddess.com. And those are the places you can find me.
Beautiful. Folks, I'm going to go take a 27-minute break here, and then we will be back with Jennifer Woodward for a case study. So we're going over labs, getting nerdy on peptides and perimenopause. And Sarah, thank you, seriously, again, not only doing this for us, but literally back-to-back months here. I will miss you in December. And again, we always